Welcome to Jurassic Park. Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk. I am your host, John, and today here on the channel, we're going to be talking about one of my all-time favorite films, 1993's Jurassic Park, and its brand new 4K Blu-ray that just came out with Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos, which I'm really excited to get into. But before we get into that 4K Blu-ray review, I always like to give a quick film review, and today is no different. So if you don't want to know anything about Jurassic Park, and you're just here to see if that new 4K Blu-ray is worth your money, well, you guys can skip ahead to that right now. So back in 1993, Steven Spielberg and John Williams had the greatest year ever for any filmmaker and any composer, because that year, not only did they give us Jurassic Park, the highest grossing film of the year, and like I just said, one of my favorite films, but they also gave us Schindler's List, which is obviously one of the greatest films of all time, that year's Best Picture winner. So to have two separate films come out, one be the highest grossing film of the year, and I believe it was the highest grossing film of all time at the time, could be wrong on that, but they also had the Best Picture winner. So Steven Spielberg, one of the greatest to ever do it. John Williams is the greatest composer of all time. And of course, they came together to give us Jurassic Park. And if you were a kid in the 1990s and probably a kid in the 1980s, you absolutely love this movie. Most young boys love dinosaurs. Me, I don't love dinosaurs, but I do love Jurassic Park. I guess I was just a film fan even from a young age. This movie just always spoke to me. A big part of that, of course, is the Jurassic Park logo. I'm a big fan of logos. Not a big fan of corporations in general, but I love logos. I do. I really do. I like it when you give an artist like guardrails, like you have to make this logo in this template, and you know, it's got to be something that's appealing. And Jurassic Park is not a real place, not yet at least. We're heading there, I'm sure of it, just knowing humanity. But it's not a real place. But that logo, I mean, you see it, it catches your eye. It's one of my favorite logos in history, whether it be in a film or not. I just absolutely love the logo. I actually just bought a new Jurassic Park Park Ranger hat, not a park ranger there, so hopefully I don't get sued for being a fraud. But yeah, I just bought that hat just because I've always loved the logo. I've always had Jurassic Park t-shirts. It's always appealed to me. All you had to do with the box art back in the day was slap that logo with a black background. Not many movies can do that. Ghostbusters and Batman can, but Jurassic Park, it always stood out to me. And then when you watch the movie itself, you know, these characters, they appeal to you. You know, Ian Grant, played by the great Jeff Goldblum, you know, he's the rock star. He's still a mathematician or a quadratician, whatever the hell he's called in this movie. But, you know, he's Jeff Goldblum through and through. He's cool as shit. You get Laura Dern and Sam Neill, and in my opinion, their most iconic roles. Obviously, this is the first place I came to them, but Laura Dern is a world-class actress, and so is Sam Neill. But I mean, Laura Dern's in all those David Lynch movies. You see her in here, she's so cute and charming. She is great. She's just trying to get through to Alan Grant and be like, come on, you want to have kids? And that's really what the movie's about, is Alan Grant finally coming around to appreciating kids. Of course, he has to learn to appreciate them in the worst circumstances when they're trying to survive, but, you know, they trust him, and that's the whole thing. You know, come on, stop being such a curmudgeon. These kids just want to be near you. They clearly like you, and eventually, by the end of the movie, he learns to like them. You know, I'm not going to go too much into the plot of the movie. You've seen Jurassic Park, I assume, if you've seen this video, so it's just kind of my quick thoughts while watching the movie for about the 110th time on 4K Blu-ray this time around, second time this year. You know, one thing I noticed about John Hammond this time around is I always loved him. You know, he was always like the nice billionaire when I was a kid, but in the world we live in now with the capitalist society, there's certain things about him where you go, you know, compared to like the Michael Crichton book, which is definitely like he's much more of an antagonist in that compared to like the lovable grandfather in this movie, but there's still shades of that built in, you know, like the kind of guy he's still a billionaire regardless. He's still, you know, his ego still let him make this park, and you can kind of notice that like his ego is still there. He's still in the beginning of the movie. He's still there for money. You know, yeah, he wants to give back and everything. It's supposed to be for everybody, but the Ian Malcolm quote is the one that I think a lot of stuff in life, especially in 2025 with everything in AI going through, I use this quote all the time.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should.
Like, that quote could be added to so many different things, but we live in such a corporate, greedy society. Even John Hammond calls the lawyer a bloodsucker, but in 2025, John Hammond would agree with that and be like, hey, let's just get this out there. We'll deal with the consequences after the fact. Of course, they don't have you rooting for the corporation in this movie. At the very end of the day, they do get their comeuppance, and John Hammond has to face reality that this is probably not a great idea. And that's how we were supposed to leave the Jurassic Park franchise, I assume, at least in 1993. I think people weren't thinking of a sequel at the time. Of course, the book came out and The Lost World of Jurassic Park came out, and we had to go back. But at the time, you thought, all right, everybody learned their lesson. This is a bad idea. Let's stay out of Jurassic Park. Also, one thing I noticed, Dennis Nedry, he has a good reason to complain a little bit. This guy is one of what looks like 4 employees before the place opens up, and he is running the entire security system. That's just bad management. You should be paying him a little bit more. Again, I love your problems are your problems, Dennis. I will not get roped into another argument with you, another financial argument with you. And it's just like, he probably has a good reason, and if he has access to everything, maybe pay him a little bit more. He does seem like a little bit of a dirtbag, Dennis Nedry, but, that's just kind of how he is. But, you still hired him to do the job. But again, watching the movie for the 105th time, these are just the little details I noticed because I've seen every scene so many times. This is probably one of my favorite John Williams scores ever. It does actually have my favorite piece of music that's ever been composed for a film. When the first time we see the dinosaurs and the surprise and awe on Laura Dern and Sam Neill's face. Ian Malcolm's like, you did it, you son of a bitch, you did it. But they're like surprise and awe as the camera turns around. And again, that slow down. It's beautiful. It still makes me emotional every time I watch it. It still gives me goosebumps. And that's the power of Jurassic Park now, 32 years later, which is unbelievable. Started a franchise. Did it need to start a franchise? Probably not. I try and look at these movies now and not be so much of a curmudgeon myself. I go, you know what? They're just junk popcorn flicks. They're never going to be the original Jurassic Park, which is an all-timer. And just accept them for what they are. Maybe sit back and just enjoy a good summer blockbuster every now and again. That's how I'm trying to go into these movies, even though sometimes I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? I still get that in pretty much every Jurassic Park sequel since the original. But hey, you can take nothing away from the original, and it just got a brand new 4K Blu-ray release, and let's talk about that right now. And here it is, Jurassic Park 1, 2, and 3, the Jurassic Park trilogy on 4K Blu-ray. We also got the Jurassic World trilogy on 4K Blu-ray as well, separate in Steelbooks, which, feels a little bit like a cash grab because 1, 2, and 3 did receive new Dolby Vision and new Dolby Atmos upgrades, and so did Jurassic World, but obviously the other 2 films in the Jurassic World trilogy are the same exact 4K Blu-rays that have been released in the past, so if you already have them, you're really just going to be getting an upgrade to Jurassic World. Now, I did have the previously released box set that came out years ago with the first 4 films. This did get updated with the other films as well, but not in this beautiful Universal hard box that I absolutely love. I know not everybody loves these Universal hard boxes because, when you come inside and everything, just to flip open, the discs slide out the side. I got a bunch of these. I have Back to the Future, Fast and the Furious like that. I've always liked them. I don't like, what it does to the disc. You either get fingerprints or a scratch on it. So I understand the complaints about it, but I just always thought this box art and the hard box was absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to hold on to this, even though this is definitely the inferior version when it comes to the film now, which we'll get into in a second. Because now, like I said, you come inside right here. This is where you're going to find all 3 films in the first Jurassic Park trilogy. One, The Lost World, and Jurassic Park 3. You're only getting the 4K Blu-rays. That previous set, like I said, had the previously released Blu-rays as well. You're only getting them on 4K Blu-ray with brand new Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos tracks, which is a lot of people were asking for, mainly because Jurassic Park, the 4K Blu-ray, it never felt like a true 4K Blu-ray experience. It only had HDR10. I never hated it as much as other people did. It did have like faded look, the colors. It just didn't feel like the true 4K Blu-ray experience. And it's a lot like what I say about Star Wars and certain other films. They're too important to just be half-assed. You should really give them the full treatment. There's no reason why we should have Maniac Cop 3 out there having one of the best 4K Blu-rays when films like A New Hope and Jurassic Park have like average at best 4K Blu-rays. And that just goes to show you the difference between a boutique studio and a major studio, because the major studio is only going to see money signs, while a boutique label probably cares about the film itself and wants to put all of their effort into it. Luckily, Universal has heard us, and, this is something I appreciate because technology does get better. We're almost 10 years in the 4K Blu-ray technology, and it has improved so much. Back in the day, even if it had a Dolby Atmos track on it, might have not been the best mixed. And that previously released Jurassic Park Blu-ray, and I'm going to review The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 separate, so we're just talking about the first one right now. That 4K Blu-ray, it was fine. That's all it was. It was fine. It deserved better. So when these new 4K Blu-rays got announced, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get them. I did get FOMO. It got the better of me. And when Kingdom of Heaven got delayed, and, you know, obviously it was $55 richer at the time, I decided to take that money and go over here and get 3 movies and get them in this steelbook right here, which... you know what? I don't necessarily love the steelbook. I love the dent in the bottom here. You know how they made it, the Jurassic Park logo dented in. Don't love this artwork. It's just very plain Jane to me. I don't really love it. I personally would have wished they would have separated these out. And, you know, they've done this in the past. Just giving us a black 4K steelbook with the Jurassic Park logo on it. That's all I wanted. Because I only wanted the original Jurassic Park. I didn't necessarily want the Lost World and Jurassic Park 3. Could have lived with the 4K Blu-rays I already had. But, you know, I really wanted to see this with Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. And was it worth it, or should I have waited? Well, the Dolby Atmos track right out of the gate, you're going to notice, is much better than the previously released DTS-X track. The DTS-X track, again, not the worst in the world. It's just that it wasn't mixed very well, in my opinion. The rears were just slightly lower than this Atmos track. This Atmos track is definitely going to create a lot more atmosphere. The dialogue is clearer. It's just going to give you that bump that you were hoping for. It gives you a true surround sound experience. It's a noticeable upgrade to the audio. So if you are somebody who's been hoping for a good Dolby Atmos track, you're going to get it here, which I am very happy to report. Now, the Dolby Vision upgrade, because, yeah, it is compatible with HDR10, and it is the new scan any which way you go. I appreciate, well, it's not really a new scan. It's just recolor graded. That's all it is. We're taking the same scan that had previously been released, and we're color grading again with Dolby Vision, which, of course, has a bigger color range than HDR. So even if you were to, hey, I don't have Dolby Vision, I want to watch this in HDR10, you can do that, but you're going to miss out on a little bit, and actually this is one of the times where you will notice the difference between the Dolby Vision and the HDR10, because I tested it out on the Xbox Series X after I watched it on my Panasonic, and you do see little differences, mainly because the Xbox cannot play in Dolby Vision, at least for disc. You can, you know, play it with streaming and everything and in games, but they don't do it for disc, so you're going to need a designated Dolby Vision player, and I do think you're going to get the most out of it if you could watch this movie in Dolby Vision, because it is, again, a noticeable difference from the previous scan that we got a few years ago, and I think this is what everybody was hoping Jurassic Park would look like. Is it still a 10 out of 10 4K Blu-ray? Have they gotten it to that level? No, I don't think the visuals are a 10 out of 10, but they're a solid, like 8.5, 9 out of 10 now. It looks like you would hope a 4K Blu-ray of Jurassic Park would look like. You'll notice it, like, right away. Certain objects, like, I think it's like the second scene in the movie when they go in the trailer and like the red lamp is sitting on the desk. Look at that on the previously released 4K Blu-ray, and then look at it in the new 4K Blu-ray. It's also noticeably brighter in spots because, again, we have wider range, so we're able to hit the deep blacks while retaining the brightness, and all that is just so noticeable in this 4K Blu-ray, and I couldn't be happier. I was glad that it was a noticeable upgrade. You know, I just watched this movie 2 months ago, so my wife, like, I was putting it, she's like, what are you doing? We just watched Jurassic Park, and I was like, you know, yeah, but we didn't watch it with Dolby Vision or Dolby Atmos, so we're going to check it out now. And even her, who, you know, everything goes over her head when it comes to 4K Blu-ray stuff. She doesn't really even care, but she's like, she was able to notice the difference. She's like, I can see what you're saying. It's clear as day. So it is a noticeable upgrade to 4K Blu-ray. But all of the extras that had come out on the previous release, which are on the Blu-ray and not on the 4K Blu-ray, are all packed onto this one big 4K Blu-ray disc, which I appreciate. You know, it's just no new extras. So if you've seen the extras in the past that were on the Blu-ray that have been following around, you know, you're not going to get anything new. But then again, do you need anything new? I mean, they leave no stone unturned. You know, everything about the hurricane that happened and all the troubles they went through while filming this movie. And you're going to find all that out in the extras. I appreciate it. You get, you know, plenty of archival extras, plenty of the extras that have been following around in the documentary sense. I love it. I just wish that we would have got something new. Didn't expect anything new, so I can't really complain too much about the extras. That's not what they were promoting. This is just a Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos upgrade, and I am very happy with those upgrades. But can I recommend it to you guys? It's going to come down to how do you feel about the film, because eventually these will be separated out into their own steelbooks, or eventually after the new Jurassic Park Rebirth comes out, there will be a brand new 7-film collection where you can get them all on 4K Blu-ray in the highest of quality with these new scans. So it's just going to come down to how do you feel about Jurassic Park? Like I said, FOMO got the better of me on this one. I would have never done this. This goes against everything I pretty much tell you guys on the channel. You know, wait for a sale unless you absolutely love the movie. Well, I absolutely love Jurassic Park, and I couldn't wait. And once the funds freed up, I had to get it, and I'm very happy I did. But it's going to have to come down to that because, again, all you're going to be getting is a Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos upgrade. Everything else is the same, and the set doesn't come with the previously released Blu-ray, so you're only going to be getting the 4K Blu-ray. So if you hear me complaining about that from other studios like Warner Brothers, got to complain the same way with Universal. Clearly a cost-cutting measure. But you know what? It's almost $20 a disc in here. That's not too bad. Some studios, look at Criterion with the 10 disc Wes Anderson set. That's $40 a disc. A little bit ridiculous. Even at $350, that's $35 a disc. A little bit ridiculous. At least $20 a disc, and you're receiving nice upgrades, in my opinion. We'll have to talk about The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 later down the line, just because there's so much stuff out right now. But I just wanted to make sure I got in front of you guys, talked about Jurassic Park. I'll give this 4K Blu-ray a very solid 8.5 out of 10. It's definitely worth your time and money as long as you're a fan of the film. If you can wait and you have those previous release 4K Blu-rays and you're like, I can wait for an upgrade, do it. I would say definitely do it. Wait for a sale. That's the best route to go, unless you're like me and you were fiending to see Jurassic Park with Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for me on another episode of Let's Talk. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And if you did, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video if you could. We also have channel membership, so if you want to become a friend of the channel, a producer for the channel like John Doe Juggalo and Ben Rondo, you can do that. Or you can become a channel director like Uncle V, Kevin Kruger, Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews, and of course, Nicholas Head. Or you can even become a channel bankroll member like Mr. Smelly Potato. But of course, if you got no money to throw away, guys, don't worry about it at all. We just hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, get out in those streets, tell your friends about us, and then we'll be seeing you around.